Welcome to Oh Brother, a podcast where we try to figure it all out, with your hosts, Brandon and Collin. On this week's show, conflicted about lakes.
Ahoy.
Ahoy!
How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Sick, but that's fine.
Oh no! Okay, you didn't sound very.
Oh, hold on, pause.
A bit.
Sorry to pause just real quick.
Already pause.
Megan literally started calling me as I was talking.
It always happens that way, you know.
But yes, alas, I am very sick.
Succumbed to the wild temperature fluctuations, have you?
Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. Seriously, like this is the 48 hours of the four seasons.
True.
We got like the blizzard warning out for tomorrow because it's not supposed to snow a whole lot, but the 50-mile-an-hour winds are going to sure make it fun as we're out exploring and enjoying our day. And so my head is not happy. My cough is enthused and invigorated, and my nasal passages are free flowing. So it's yeah.
All right. Well.
I've got tea. I've been gorging on tea today. So I have a red raspberry with honey. Right now it's
there you go.
It's kind of cold because I started it a little bit too long ago, and then I just anyway.
It's all right. I just since we're tea time with the Oh Brother podcast, I generally, when we're recording, drink chamomile tea because it is late. So not late, but like it is evening time. So sometimes that, or been drinking a lot of peppermint tea. Right. Like that too.
Yes. So. I really like, oh gosh. Oh, my family's gonna, what is the word? It's like an elderberry tea that we drink a lot of. And I had the last one this morning. And so
we saw some of that the other day because Susan got some ginger tea.
Yeah.
Recently.
Yeah. We have some of that because every now and then the kids get some upset stomachs and stuff.
Yeah.
That tends to help that. So I found they'll drink it even when it's kind of colder. So I'll steep it and everything, but they can that's something they can sip on for their stomachs.
Can sit around. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't had any of that yet because we just got it the other day, but
no, it's
not bad.
I like that. Yeah.
Try to drink a lot of herbal tea since I do got to counteract that caffeine coffee consumption throughout the day. Right. So kind of like, it's just maybe, I don't know what is happening. I don't know, perhaps it's the age, but I'm like, oh no, I just want to drink a hot thing. And so like my brain just is like, no, coffee. But then it'll be like 5:30 and I'm like, maybe not the best idea.
That is true.
Like 6 o'clock, I'm like,
yeah, I
okay, maybe that's not.
I've been really good about not drinking coffee after like 2 o'clock. Like I've been trying to stop there.
This is big steps for you.
I know.
This is big. This is a big leap.
And so I feel like I've been good about that. But then man, it's been months since I've had like intentionally sought out coffee because I used to, like, as the day was winding down, the kids would go to bed, and then I would brew a pot of coffee and
and then wonder why I had trouble sleeping.
Start working. Sorry, I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. And so now I've stopped that. And that's been good. But I did do it the other day because I was like, what was it? Oh, I didn't get started on something until like really, really late. And so I did brew a small cup of coffee, but I didn't make it as, and the problem is that when I brew coffee, I only have a French press. And so it's like dense coffee.
Oh yeah. See, I'm the opposite. I do. Okay. So I may or may not sometimes commit coffee crimes. Right. So like, all right, coffee purists, close your ears.
Oh, this is good.
Don't listen to this. Okay. Don't listen. right?
I like this.
So sometimes after work, what I do, because I have coffee, just normal coffee pot, right?
Sure.
And so sometimes after work, what I do is I just like throw in a little bit of a scoop and then just rebrew the grounds from this morning.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, just a little fresh
so it's
off.
like, yeah, just like you throw a little bit more in there to kind of like spruce it up, but it's like way
Sure.
weaker than before. Afternoon coffee, so it doesn't matter. But like just rebrew the grounds that are already there. It's a very college dorm room move, right? But like I'll just be like, oh, I want something a little hot and I want a little bit of coffee because I like coffee. I just like it. And so, but it brews a much weaker version of it, right? And I don't care. I'm just like, whatever. So I do that. I do commit coffee crimes on occasion. So don't worry. Okay. You can now put your headphones back on. All right. You can listen again.
Yep. Yep. Don't worry about it. Everything's gonna be fine. Yeah. Yeah. I have also brewed coffee, set at my desk, and then I go about my day, and then I'll come back and I'll be like, oh, coffee. And I'll just drink it. I don't go back, and sometimes I'll drink it cold, and Megan is like, what are you doing?
Oh yeah, no. I microwave it, right? I'll just feel like, oh, this is a little bit cold. Or sometimes it's just like I'm just like, oh, there's still some in the pot from earlier. I'll just microwave that and it's fine. Like, I don't care. Again, coffee crimes. Sorry. Like, well, it's fine. Okay, do what you gotta do. It's all right. Like, nah. So
Yeah. Yep. So that's what I have been. I've been trying to overcome sickness, drinking more tea. It's been a very busy week so far. Apparently, getting ready for Snowmageddon number 17. And
surely not. Surely it'll just be some blowing wind and then it'll be over with.
we're supposed to get 2 inches of snow.
Are you?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. We're just supposed to be like a little bit of like a little teeny bit of snow, like like a dusting, if that.
Yeah.
I think we're too far south, but we may get some. But I don't know.
I don't think
Who knows?
I don't think it'll be too bad. It was just like, really? Okay. Here we go.
Yeah, it's been very weird. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. But it's supposed to be super windy. So that will be, and cold. Cold and windy. Hooray. Favorite combo. Oh, wait. No.
That is, yeah. Trying to remind the team this week of like, remember to break out your jackets again. So if you put them away, remember, bad choice.
First of all, if you're living in Missouri and you're putting your jacket away, you're putting your coat away, like winter coat, you're putting your winter coat away at the 1st of March. What are you doing? That you should know better. Okay, that's just silly. Can't be doing that. Right? You can't be putting the winter coat. Sometimes you need that sucker in April, right? You just got to have it on hand. You got to have it ready, right? You don't put that thing in the closet till like May, right? And that's when that's when you put it away, right? That's when you go, okay, you go in there now, right? You got to have that thing ready to go in a moment's notice, because again, one day it will be like 65 degrees, and the next day it will be 35 degrees, right? You just never know.
Exactly.
It'll just jump out and get you,
and you just have to roll with it.
Yeah.
You just have to roll with it.
So like, yeah, I didn't put away my socks. I got big socks ready to go for tomorrow. Like, all right, it's gonna be cold. Bang. Get it.
Just got to be ready. No, I understand. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. What's how's are you finally back into the swing of the school and everything? Have you gotten back on a good trajectory?
Yeah, mostly, right? Just kind of got back in doing things. We have presentations tomorrow. So, oh man, exciting, right? So, I accidentally discovered that this week is like severe weather preparedness week, right? And we're doing severe weather presentations. I was like, guys, look, we accidentally are topical. Look at that. Hooray!
Oh, just telling them on
Amazing.
purpose, obviously.
I did not do that on purpose.
No.
It was 100% accident. I read like this morning and I was like, ha! Hey, looky there. Let's go. So that was fun. But yeah, it's all right. It's just sort of like third quarter winding up, trying to get everything under control to start shenanigans of fourth quarter, right? I also keep forgetting, like, I'm really bad about remembering that there's other stuff that has to happen, right? So I'm just like locked in on what I'm doing. And then some of my teammates will be like, hey, remember there's that other thing on Thursday. And I'm like, what? What do you mean other thing on Thursday?
Oh no.
Like, dang it. It keeps like slightly messing up my plan. Like these other like school activities that have to happen, right? I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm like, oh, but we're doing this celebration Thursday. Like, no. Or we're doing this thing Friday. Dang it. There goes that plan. No.
What my beautiful plans. My beautiful plans.
They're gone. No. So it kind of messes me up a little bit. It's always the afternoon, which I guess is better in retrospect than my science class, because that's annoying when that gets messed up. But like, it's fine. But it's just like, oh yeah, dang it, I forgot that was a thing that we had to do. No. Really bad about remembering like whole school things, right? I just don't remember that. I think my brain catalogs it as not of crucial information, and then I just forget about it, right? I'm just like, what? And then someone reminds me, like, my plans, no.
Okay. Oh man, to have when you're like, my schedule, never mind, it's not my own, it's not my schedule, it's just it's the suggestion
supports me
at this point.
Yeah, so other than that, it's fine. But like, that's what we're trying to do. Try to get through this, figure out just the weirdness that has to happen. Fourth quarter, there's all kinds of like other stuff that has to happen, right? You start getting into like end of year stuff. You got to do all that dumb testing nonsense, right? You got to do all that. So whatever, like that takes a big chunk of time and takes away from all the other things we have to do. So yeah, deal with that soon, I guess. But not yet. Just kind of. It is also almost parent-teacher conference time again, so I gotta make sure I have all grades done and everything by the end of this week. So that's fun too. The grind of like, oh yeah, check all this work. Are you missing anything? Oh, good grief! Why are you still not turning that in? Like that's the
why are you still missing all of these things?
Yes, because it's the chronic problem of like there'll be a student who's like, if they're missing a lot of work for me, they're also missing work for the other teachers. So, like,
all gather around the water cooler and
right. So, like,
that person, right?
Getting it now becomes a problem, right? Like, when, how, what, like, oh no, like, so that's a thing because you'd like fight for time, right? About like, oh, when can I do this with them? Again. So that's a little bit tricky. So
good.
Other than that, not too bad. Just trying to chill. Really, I haven't really been doing too much exciting things recently. Still been like everything's so busy. I still don't have time to like do stuff. So like. You know,
we tried to we stole away this past weekend to go on another escapade. We did not go as far
afield. Not as far
afield as Kansas. We stuck closer to our own state. and we drove to the Ha Ha Tonka State Park.
Oh yeah.
Really enjoyed this. It's one of those things that, like, we've been talking about it and like wanting to go, and then like we should do this, and it's like, oh, wait, I don't know. Blah, blah.
You didn't go trout fishing?
I didn't.
Man,
do
what are you doing? Correct.
Failed. Sorry. I'll put that on my calendar.
That's right.
But no, we went down, and I am reminded of just what a lovely place this is. And I am very happy that, first off, it's been, I think, I went with Kevin and Kyle a couple of years ago, 5 years ago now. We just met up and hiked. And before then, it had been years, decades nigh, since I had been.
Not important. That's fine.
Not important.
But yeah, I would say that's accurate.
Yeah, I know. And that makes me sad. But anyway, this time we went this weekend. Obviously it was like the first kind of sunny-ish warm day on a Saturday. And so I don't know what I was expecting. This has always been just kind of a sleepy little place where you never see anybody. There were so many people out. There were tons of people out on the trails. And I had that feeling of, I'm really happy that more people, and of all varieties, out on the trails too. Like, that was the other thing that I loved, of like everybody looks completely different. What language are you speaking? I don't know. Like, cool dreads, awesome face tattoo, like cool, like, oh, just people out having fun, enjoying outside and hiking in one of my favorite places. And then the crowd started to hit me, and I was like, oh, it's really crowded. Like, man, it kind of takes away from the special, like, out there-ness. And then I remembered, well, but that's the whole point of it being here, is for people to enjoy. So I had some conflicted feelings about the crowded nature of the park. But we did.
This is my park. Go away. What are you doing?
My park, right? I was like, oh no, I'm that guy. Oh no,
oh no, it's me.
So hiked some new trails with the kids that I had never hiked before. Went down to the old quarry, where again, the other cool part, where like, oh, there's this massive building, and where'd all they get the stuff from? Oh, they just mined it on site.
Isn't there? I forgot.
It's like, okay, cool. And then hiked around the top. The kids loved seeing the post office that's so close to the road as you go around the corner. Hiked up through the what is it? The Coliseum. It's called the Coliseum Trail, but it goes underneath the natural bridge.
Okay, yeah, I remember that part.
And like,
okay, some of these other things you're saying, I don't remember, because it's also been a very long time since I was there. I think I was in high school, so we need to talk less about how long ago that was. But it's fine.
Right. But there's this park, and there's some trails and stuff and things. But then we hiked the trail that goes by the lake all the way back to the spring, right? And that, and then you hike then you have to go up like the 300 stairs or whatever along the cliff face.
I remember that part.
Like, super cool. And it was really nice. We like hiked a little bit in the morning, then we went and had lunch, then we came back and hiked. And I don't know, it was just one of the parts that I have like almost no memories of, is that there's an island out there where the original grist mill was back in the mid 1800s.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Yeah. And going to explore that, and there's the balancing rock. When my kid, what's the balancing rock? And I said, I'm going to give you one guess. And of course, usually when I say that, it's like, okay, Dad means something that there's really obvious. And they both silent. And then Lily says, is it a rock that's balancing? I was like, yes, it is.
Nailed it. Good job.
I was like, great job. And then, you walk by it and you're like, oh, okay, cool. It's a rock that's balancing anyway.
Yeah, neat. Okay, keep going. Do.
Oh man. But no, it was beautiful out. And what were they doing? There was some construction going on at some point, but I had really forgotten that the water tower out there. So there's a water tower, a carriage house, and then the castle, and the water tower.
Yeah, I didn't remember. All I could remember is the quote castle bit, right? That's all I remember are the mansion ruins. Yeah. I don't really remember there being this other things. I remember the big walkway, the wood walkway bridge thing that goes like way. I remember that thing. But like,
so that walkway goes right past the original water tower there. It's a 5-story, 80-foot, whatever. They say 5 stories, but it's like 80 feet up.
Yeah.
Stone water tower. At the top was the steel tank that held the water for the compound. Castle, whatever, that they pumped up in the spring. But 4 stories of
spring,
that were the living quarters of all of the like help and all of the
servants' quarters, right?
The servants' quarters where they lived in the 4 stories of that thing. And
that can't be great to have to live in a water tower.
Well,
right?
but
I feel like that's.
It's an actual just like building. Like it's just a tall 5-story building, like a little. Like,
I know, but like,
doesn't make you feel good, I guess.
No, it's probably like damp.
Oh, that was the other thing of like,
and like,
where I realized,
mildewy, like.
Oh, there's no chimney on this place. Where did they get their heat?
Exactly. Nowhere.
Yeah,
smoky rooms, like really.
Yes. So I was like, well, that's fun. And then I was looking at the carriage house, and it was large enough to hold. Hold on, 30 cars and 100 carriages. Is that right? Yeah, something like that.
Why would you need 100 carriages?
I think this was if you had guests over for like a party, this was where everybody parked their stuff.
Even back then, Americans were not carpooling. Look at that. That's just how this works.
Yeah. I know.
This is how
early 1900s. No carpooling.
Yeah. No carpooling. Carpooling's for losers, right?
Where are these people coming from too? That was the other thing of going. This is in the middle of nowhere. Like it's in the middle of nowhere now, and the only reason it's somewhere is because they flooded a bunch of towns, and and they built a lake. Who else was out here?
Are they carriaging from Kansas City out to Camdenton for no reason whatsoever? Like that is a good question.
Maybe that's it.
Who is coming out here?
I was very confused because that kind of hit me of like, well, this wasn't for just the owner and his family. Like they didn't own 30 cars and have 100 carriages. This is storage stuff and stuff. But like, who is coming? I don't understand. So that was fun. And then of course we're done.
This is Gilded Age America. So like you could own stuff just to own it, right? Like that's what just to be like, I do own 100 carriages, loser. And the servants can't use any of them. They have to sleep in the dank water tower.
Yes. Anyway, then of course we're by the lake, and so I says to myself, where's the one place you need to go if you're on a lake in Missouri? You gotta drive over the dam, obviously.
I mean, obviously.
So
I don't know if this is true, but almost all lakes in Missouri are just dams. So
then you gotta go see the dam. So we went and drove over Bagnell Dam, which is fine. But then we found there's a history museum that's operated by Ameren, right by the dam. And it was rather sad because basically I realized like, oh, this is the most public that they're going to be about the damages done to the local communities back in the 30s. This is their my bad. Like, sorry.
Like a small plaque in the corner. Like,
I mean, they had photos of some of the towns that had moved. Like Zora is one of the really big ones out there.
Yeah.
Lynn Creek is another one that was moved. And they had photos of before and after. But what also I realized of when they talked about how They would do they had to destroy some of the buildings before the lake was flooded. This literally meant that they just set them on fire.
Or just like kicked them over. Like, all right,
how they destroyed
done.
them. But they moved entire towns, and so there were stories. There were some of those stories throughout a couple different towns and stuff about what was going on. But it had some neat things in there, like the model for how the dam would work. Okay, it's 1920. You're wanting to build a really large dam. What would you make your model out of?
It's 1920. I don't know, plaster.
No, they built it out of wood.
Oh yes, of course. That was my second.
Yes. And they still have it. They still have the original one that was used.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yes. This was really cool. I really liked seeing that part. And then they had photos of all the construction, various stages and stuff, which, I had never seen before. And it was really trippy because they have a photo as they are basically trenching in what will soon be the base of the dam.
Yeah.
And you can see the entire river valley, and you can see the little Osage sitting there. Not like
yeah, a trickle.
Man, it gives you a lot of mixed feelings, and that was something that I try to as much as you can to a 7 and a 9-year-old talk about, like, the lake is immensely beneficial to the economy and to the power grid and to quality of life for cities and people. It was also extremely devastating to thousands of families and was a massive hit and impact to the local cultures and the native history as well. And now we're left with that, standing in a fake lodge, looking at looking at a little diorama of how things are set up, and it all just felt a little weird. So I was conflicted.
Yeah, that is yeah. It is it's a rough one. Like it's like, on the one hand, it is like you can talk about like the economic development that followed from dam creation, but also that economic development is just like tourism only, right? So like,
Oh yeah,
it's not like, I don't, that's only so meaningful, and it only brings in like so many dollars, right? Like, you could have had tourism without the lake. Like you could have done that. That's the thing that could have happened, right? Like, so
no, I totally, like, it really is warped around one particular thing, and that makes it tough. Again, like, how much it cost benefits everybody. Like, this is where we are. And I know this, obviously that is the tale as old as time with history and reflecting back on these things. And I just thought it was very poignant in that time to be, standing marveling at the engineering, marveling at these things, and then also going, yeah, then this was a choice, this was the decision made, and the feeling the repercussions, because everything. And then obviously towards the very back of of it's like, oh yeah, and also they didn't know anything about like paddlefish, and by the dam was built in 1935, and by the 60s there were basically no paddle fishing. I'm like, oh right,
no,
yeah,
migratory fish species. Whoopsie daisy.
didn't know about those. So yeah, that was another thing of talking to the kids about. And look, they made this decision, and they didn't know this. They didn't know this massive fish needed anything an uninterrupted.
Yeah, they're migratory. They do love a good headwater for spawning. you know,
Sure
like
do.
many a fish, you know.
Yes.
So it's very problematic when there's a giant wall in front of the place you need to go to have babies. This doesn't work out, right? It doesn't work out.
And what's actually really interesting is we had taken a walk the previous like a couple days before, and we were standing on this really small bridge. It's a box culvert, and I'm standing on there, and we're watching the little stream trickle down, and I noticed that the downstream edge is like 18 inches above the bottom of the stream bed. Right, it's elevated as everything is in the Ozarks.
Yeah.
And I looked at that and I said, "Hey, look at that. And do you see that little waterfall that's approaching, falling over there?" And they're like, "Yeah." I said, "Do you think a fish could swim up that?" And so interestingly, we had that discussion, and then a couple days later, I'm like, "And now look at this massive." It's the same thing.
So the fish not going up that one.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
The spry little jumping fish can only go so far,
Exactly. Yep, we don't have any native fish species with real good jumping capabilities, and
no,
definitely
the old channel catfish, not quite a leaper,
Yeah,
paddlefish, no,
nope,
gar,
nope,
no, alligator gar, no,
nope.
Blue cat, no.
Also no. Yeah, there's a theme here, people.
Yeah. It's almost like there shouldn't be large obstructions and waterfalls on downstream river areas that are large rivers of Missouri.
Yeah, and
the floodplain regions. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was really weird seeing these photos of the time period without the dam and seeing what the natural river valley looked like and how everything was arranged. That was the part where I was like, "Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Like that's not what we have at all." And then they had this map that was really impactful. They had a map from the like 1880s of the river channel all the way from like Warsaw all the way over. Right. And that's a whole other thing because then they made Truman, and that's whatever. So
yeah.
I'm not talking about that history yet. But then they had all the towns that were on there. And then in very faint blue, they drew where the water level was today. Right. And that's where you really saw
how much was gone.
How much was gone. And you're just counting. And I think there was like 20 towns, right? Like 20 that were just taken out. And that map was really where I was just kind of staring at that going, yeah. And also you've ruined my drive times across the state. So thank you.
Yeah, you really have. You really messed that up big time, right? Like I can't drive across middle Missouri because you stuck some giant lakes there in the wrong spot, right? The place where nary a lake should be seen. You just stuck a big old lake. Several of them, right? I was looking at the map of Missouri, and some of these I don't remember that they exist. Right. I'm like, oh yeah. I like until you said it, I was like, I do. I always forget that Truman Lake is there. Right. Like I don't
I know.
I don't just because I never go that way. Right. I'm never up there around. I'm like, oh yeah. There is a lake over there.
Yeah.
Whoops.
It's so crazy that the Osage has those two mammoth lakes on there. And
Truman's really big.
Truman is huge.
Yeah.
And then even off the branch of that, they've got Stockton, and then what's the other one there that I always I don't know if it's still part of Truman or not, but like
Stockton's too far south, but it's on
it's on the Sac River, which flows into Truman.
Oh yeah, that's true, I guess. That is true, because the dam is on the north part there.
It's like that's how, and Truman is just flood control for Bagnall.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Because Bagnall, they built Bagnall and they're like, "Oh, this is terrible. we have so much water we can't actually generate power because the flood pulses. So they went, okay, that's fine. We'll just put one literally like you drive over the bridge into it's so ridiculous into, into Warsaw on you pass over basically the last little tiny little sliver of Lake of the Ozarks, and then immediately on your left is a dam. And it's like so it's the dam the lake goes right up to the base of the dam of the next one, and it's just meant to be a reservoir to feed water into Bagnall, and the whole system is insane how they have that set up.
Yeah. Pomme de terre is part of that system. I'm looking at a map here, and Pomme de terre also, the Pomme de terre River feeds the southern branch of Truman Lake.
Okay. Yes.
So the flood. So there's a dam there that makes Pomme de terre, and it goes north also into Truman Lake.
Truman. Yeah.
Which is crazy to think, right? Like Truman Lake goes all the way over to Clinton. Like, what the heck?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
enormous. Like, it's so big. I forget how large this is. And then you look at it on the map and you're like, oh my God, it goes from Osceola all the way over here. What in the world? What the heck?
Yeah. It's a weird complex that they have set up there. And
it is very weird. It also just talks to you about just like looking at the drainage, right? You can see just how much more elevated southern Missouri is than the rest of the state because all of these rivers are flowing north, which is like really odd because, you know, this talks to you about like, even though like just how much higher the Ozark Plateau is than northern Missouri, right? All the rivers are going that way and then over toward the Mississippi.
Like, yeah.
They flow way north and then like they flow north and then turn east. Like, that's bizarre. They kind of share the same basin as the Missouri, right? And like just go that way, but like the Osage does. So like what? Because the Osage drains into the Missouri first, but like
yes,
instead of the other way, which is very strange because down here all the water just goes straight into the Mississippi, right? So like the fact that it goes way north to the Missouri basin is interesting. Weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that the Ozark Plateau and the Ozark Mountains, like you don't really see that impact. You don't really feel it, obviously. But if you just, I don't know, if you just randomly drove from a town in Southwest Missouri north to another town in kind of mid northern Missouri, you feel that. You feel it's so that drive north is so interesting because you go just even out of Springfield, you're driving in this up down, and then just gradually how everything kind of generally levels out,
stays down,
just go down, and here you are, and then you're just in the flat prairies.
Yeah, northern glacial plain, right? Like, oh wow, why are there no hills in Chillicothe? Who knew? Like, shocking. So
we had fun at the lake, and we didn't get in the water because it's cold.
It is too cold for that still. That is fair.
Too cold. Stayed the night place, and then came back home. So we did a kind of a good day trip. It's a good day trip. It's only an hour and 20 minutes from our house. And I was like,
that's much better than last day trip.
That's a much better than
much more sustainable type
3 hours away from
us. I mean, it was worth it, but like,
it's totally worth it. Obviously, thanks, train history, dude. But yeah, so that was our fun adventure. So, get out. The recommendation there is get out and explore local parks. Be okay when they're crowded because it means people are enjoying them. It's fine. Don't put any more dams on rivers.
Question the use of hydraulic electricity as an energy source, right?
Look,
That's
if
really.
we all just went nuclear, it'd be fine.
I mean, if only there was a massive incandescent gas, a gigantic nuclear furnace where hydrogen is built into helium at a temperature of millions of degrees, that you could then harness that power
No.
and turn it into electricity. If only something like that existed, that would be great, right? So yeah, I think we need to stay away from some nuclear power. I heard some dystopian ideas like, oh, maybe in order to like keep the AI computers going that are using 10 times more power to answer an AI generated prompt than a Google search. That's cool. Bit of info. Like private companies are thinking about building their own nuclear reactors to run their AI computers because they require so much power. Let's talk about what a terrible idea this is, because that means there's no regulation for running them. And remember, Chernobyl happened. Okay, and I just need you.
Well, but
I need you to know that Chernobyl happened
if you keep cherry
with
picking
like the most
bad
regulation
examples,
ever. Okay, and
you only find the bad examples. Of course, you're going to make it look bad.
this is the worst example. Like,
for a very good reason.
yes,
We don't want these on every street corner.
no. Good grief. Truly the worst timeline. Like, it's just bad. I don't.
I know the whole AI thing is so fascinating to see, because on one hand, you go like, these are the most power hungry things now, and they also use like tons and tons of water, and they are just like the most resource intensive new invention. And you have countries that are well, I don't know, like what is it? What's the, I forget what the exact stat is for China at the rate that they build power plants, right? So it's like,
Oh yeah, it's
massive.
massive.
It's massive, and so you can see how somebody
Yeah.
may go like, well, in order for us to keep up with that, like I have to get power from somewhere in order to keep competing this, and I think there's the whole premise of like, do we want this? Like,
Do you? Yeah.
Is this
The fact that a lot of people don't even know what to do with the AI that we have, right? Like, they don't know what to do with it. Like, it does these things. Like, they just know it is there and it works. But like, what do you point it at and make it do stuff?
Yeah.
They don't really know, right? They're like, oh, it can like generate answers. Like, well, that's stupid. I can generate answers. Anything can do that. That's not useful. Like, it doesn't have like a clear defined purpose. So like, why are we dumping all these resources into a thing that doesn't even like, we don't even know what it's for?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to dump resources into an interstate highway system. Okay. Like, again, it does things, right? It enables the flow of goods and people and blah, blah, blah. But like, oh, we're just going to put all of this information into this computer. We're just going to feed it like every bit of information on the internet ever. Why? I don't know. We just are. Like,
yeah.
If you don't even have an end goal, then what are you doing? Like, why?
Yeah. Especially when most people think, oh, cool, so I have something to write my term papers with. Like, great, I guess.
Yeah,
or
it's useless. Like, what?
I can do something with it. But I think in most people's lives, there is not a good fit for them specifically. Like,
No,
you
there's
really
no like
have to,
reason for it to be there.
right. Now, I can come up with tons of reasons to use AI, but like, are they practical for most people? Like, is it practical for most people to? Okay, so do you want me to tell you what my most recent use of AI was? Like, literally.
Okay, let's see.
An hour ago. Okay, ready? We have a dog who we're taking care of, who doesn't like any of his toys, and he's starting to cause some problems. So I wrote a prompt about the dog and some behaviors that we were seeing. And I also had my staff take photos. I had them lay out all the photos, all of the toys on the ground, and I took photos of what the current toy set was. And I uploaded the photos, and I first said, identify what's in these photos. It spat it back out and said, here's what's in here. And I said, great. These are all the toys for this particular kind of dog. I need new recommendations for dog toys that fit this specific thing. Help me brainstorm ideas. And it shot out, it gave me like, what, 20? Most of them, a lot of them were not good ideas. But I did pick up 5 that I can send off to the client and say, hey, here's this option. But that's a weird thing to do with it, right?
That's true.
Like,
and that also was enough. You used enough electricity to power Liechtenstein for like 5 minutes, right? And so that's like
wonderful. When I answered a question, and I know exactly, it's like these things are so obscure, and that in the everyday, like, do most people need to be feeding it hours of, I don't know, like transcribed audio and doing things with it? Or are they, I don't know. Like, it's just, I have yet to see a good product come out.
Yes. Of it,
AI,
right?
AI is a thing. Okay, cool. It's a tool, but like, give it a product. And most people admit, Microsoft or whatever, they're like, we've reinvented Clippy. And you're like, oh, wow.
Just what everyone wanted, because everyone loved it the first time.
Well, exactly.
It totally wasn't a joke.
Right. There's a new weird industry insight here. I just learned that there is a software for dog walkers or pet sitters. They're introducing AI into it. And what it is supposed to do is, what is it? Oh, it's supposed to summarize dog information for the team member to ingest it quickly. And that's their thing. They're using it to summarize dog information.
Oh dear.
And I don't know.
What the heck?
My email app has introduced AI to summarize emails, and they're never good or helpful.
No, I don't even need that. Most emails I get are like 5 sentences long anyway. I don't need a summary of that.
I know. And so, what did I see the meme of yesterday? Of the person in the office copies a long email and pastes it and says, "Summarize this for me," and then he sends a response, and then the guy on the other end tells AI to expand my response here to make it look like I've read this thing that came in. Like, it's just us shoveling AI garbage into more AI garbage to have AI talk to AI.
Yes. And like, it's like training itself, and it's like breaking because it's like, that's great.
Yeah. Well,
I like the one.
It's using us in the middle to just shovel responses back and forth anyway, whatever.
Yeah, good. That's great. I like the one, the like tweet or whatever that's like, I need AI to wash my dishes and do my laundry so I can make art, not make art for me so that I have more laundry and dishes to wash.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's supposed to be, how do I think that is that dream of a lot of people have for using it for automating certain things or automating certain tasks and doing things faster. So, but in reality, in most people's lives, like if you think about your home life, or sure, work applications, we probably come up with a couple, but
yeah, but like for the most part, like what do you even do with it?
What are you gonna do, right? And
if you're not creative enough to think about ways to use AI in a useful way that's like actually meaningful, perhaps you're not creative enough to keep shoveling stuff into it at all. Like that's just like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Just like stop. Right. Stop making my winter electricity bill go up because your AI farms are growing exponentially.
Yeah, it's a weird weird future with that because
burning down the planet so I could summarize a Google search faster is
an email. Yeah.
Not really worth it, right?
No. Wouldn't it be fun if you just, you could get some check boxes and you could get a summary of a summary and then
no, I want a summary of a summary. That doesn't make any sense. Ugh. Oh man. All right. Well, I did some homework for you.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Sorry. I meant to not talk about Bagnell Dam and
no, we should have because I didn't know how long this would take, but I saw it. So it's just my segue. I did some homework. I assigned myself some homework and oh boy, do we need to talk about this?
Okay.
Yes. But first, since we are still talking about World War I themes, I do have a World War I metal band of the week for you.
Oh,
right.
What?
I do have a World War I metal album for the week. I decided to just bite the bullet. We danced around it for a long time. Right. I mentioned this band several times before. So this week we do have to talk about Sabaton. Right. We do just have to go ahead and do it.
Okay.
Swedish power metal extraordinaire Sabaton. Right. This is a lot more in my wheelhouse. Okay. This is a lot more. This is like power metal is like epic choruses, like big symphony, like singing everywhere. Yes. So have I been singing along some of these songs today? Yes, that is true. So the album in question is, of course, The Great War, right? The War to End All Wars is actually, The Great War is a different Sabaton album, technically. The War to End All Wars, right?
Oh my gosh.
This is the album of the week, specifically because, like most Sabaton albums, every one of these songs is based on like a story from World War One. Right. So they're all like about a thing. Okay. Some of them are a bit esoteric. You kind of have to like dig in there. But their website has like little clips and things about like the story of writing the album and like the stories behind the songs, not to mention all the lyrics and all the lyric videos and links to all their videos, and all their albums are on YouTube and you can just like look at all of them. Right. Like,
that's nice.
Yeah, it's very handy. But this album has some epic songs, but one of them, of course, is Soldiers of Heaven, which is about the Italian front in the Alps. Yeah. So the Italian-Austrian front in the Alps, specifically the Battle of the Col de Lana, which I read a little bit about today. And basically, it was a huge, like, just like in the book, right? They're just fighting to take the mountain. And Italians decided, you know what, we're just going to mine the mountain. And then the Austrians were going to countermine it, and they detonated their countermine tunnel, but it wasn't far enough and it missed the Italian tunnel. So the Italians kept mining and just like blew up the whole top of the mountain.
Oh my gosh.
And this song is about like the people that died on the mountain and are like frozen in time there still at their posts, like guarding the mountain and fight. It's crazy, but it's like super giant epic choruses and like everything. So that's the jam for this week.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I was looking at some images of this band and some of their staging for their performances.
Yeah. It's big and
intense.
Lights and smoke dings. And yeah, it's a very epic sound.
Lots of tanks on here.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. A lot of their stuff is World War I themed, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of it is. So they have a lot of stuff about that. There's like a song about the Bismarck, and they have a song about a lot of these are like very obscure things. But the website is very handy that it tells you like, hey, this is about this. Wink, wink. Like, just so you know. Like, I didn't know, but thank you.
Do know now.
I know now. So that is the just wanted to talk about the war to end all wars, and the standout track for me, which is of course Soldiers of Heaven. Soldiers of Heaven, because it's about the Italian front. So
hey, we just finished reading about that.
Yeah. right? But not just reading, right?
Oh.
I watched some movies.
I don't know.
Okay. Man alive. First of all, also, apparently, there is a stage play adapted by Lawrence Stallings, also
What?
a World War I vet, because the movies say from the novel and the play. And I was like, I wrote on my notes, like, there's a play? Question mark? You're like, so I have not been able to find a lot of information about this other than it exists. That's all I got.
Oh my gosh.
I can't really imagine a stage version of this based on what I have just watched with these other two movies. Oh my days. But I can't.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't. Who knew? Not me. Again, I learned a thing. I learned that there was a movie or a play, right? So I started in chronological order, as one does, with the 1932 version of A Farewell to Arms, right? So the 1932 version starring Gary Cooper, and Helen Hayes, right? Yeah, I also just kept singing that thing from Young Frankenstein when I think about that.
Oh my!
Because Susan was like, "Who's in it?" I was like, "He's the guy. He's also in a bunch of cowboy movies." So I was like, the cowboy guy. I don't know. Right. This movie is wacky. Right. It's weird. I apparently watched the shorter version of this. There is a longer version, I guess, right? Because the one that I watched was an hour and like 16 minutes, right? But I was reading earlier that there is another version that's like 88 minutes. I don't really think that would have made a lot of difference in my life. But I'm assuming I just picked a random version on YouTube because both of these movies were on YouTube. Sure. So I just watched them. So that's how this comes about, right? This first one, the very first thing I wrote down is, what is happening?
Oh no.
This is very like loosely based on the book, right?
Oh.
Some of the things that happen in this, like the very first opening thing is like an ambulance ride, and there's a guy in the ambulance, and then there's like a dude on the top who's bleeding on the guy underneath, but none of those people are Henry. So like none of those people he's like driving the ambulance. Like what? And because it's again from the 30s, it took me a long time to figure out who was supposed to be who, right? The movie starts with Rinaldi taking him to go meet the nurses. That's like the first thing, right? And they actually meet because there's a bombing raid on the hospital. They like end up in the same little area, and that's how Frederick and Kat meet at first. What? At only 22 minutes in, he gets injured. Right? Which that part, it's that part's fairly similar. Right? So that little stretch there is pretty close to the book, right? Except for the bombing raid on the hospital. That's weird. Then when we go to Milan, we get weird first-person camera view of like wheeling down the hallway, right? So there's like the ceiling going by and like random people like leaning over the bed talking to him.
Weird.
Right? So weird. They get married in Milan by the priest who was there for some reason, right? Like the priest guy is also just in Milan visiting, right? So it's all out of order. They actually get married, just for funsies, like not officially, but like he says the wedding service when they're in the room together, so they're like, that counts, I guess.
Okay.
Right. So again, we're all out of order. I also wrote down here every stereotypical Italian song is just in this movie.
Oh no.
It's really bad.
Oh.
Like, it's just like every background, because it's a 30s movie, so there's not a ton of background music, right? Like a lot of the movie is just quiet. It's just like a person walking with like no sound. Again, 1932, cut them a little slack with that, but also like, what the heck? And then just like any just stereotypical Italian song is just in this movie. Right?
I'm also reminded that the book came out in 1929.
Yes.
And so this was adapted just 3 years later?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is gotcha. Anyway, sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Yeah,
you said 1930s, and I was like, no, wait a minute.
Yeah. It's only a couple years later, right? So they again, because this movie's so short, we like some things are in like fast forward, and they miss out on a bunch of stuff. And I think those extra 10 minutes that I don't have are not really gonna make a difference here. They fight with Fergie about how useless he is, like just in Milan, right? And then it's a weird. Now we really go off the rails, right? We just go crazy here because now Catherine decides that she's gonna just go to Switzerland by herself.
Oh,
right. She's like, I can't stay here. I'm not having this baby here. I'm leaving, Fergie. Because like Frederick's gone, he goes back, and then she's just like, I'm leaving. So I wrote, Catherine deserts? ?
Oh.
And then she deserts. She goes away.
Okay.
Then there's like in this whole kind of movie, like Rinaldi is like the bad guy. Like Rinaldi does not want them to be together. He like sabotages them.
Really?
Right. Yeah. He's like not the good homie in this movie, right? He's not the good dude. And then there's like a whole like Rinaldi like doesn't forward the mail to them. Like he like when the letters come from Catherine from Switzerland, he like stamps return to sender on them and has them sent back. So Frederick doesn't know where she is. Right. So like Rinaldi is a weird bad guy in this. So all right. There's like an escape montage, like the escape part where he decides to desert is in this movie. It is 6 minutes of the weirdest montage I've ever seen. Right? It's just like this weird, crazy, like symbolism montage.
Oh,
madness. Right? It's weird. Like parts of it are like really dark, like creepy, and then there's like all kinds of like horrible things happening, and you're just like, but it's a montage. You're like, why is this a montage?
Oh no.
Like,
oh no.
It's really, really weird. Right? Yeah. So like he gets back there, he goes back to Milan. Fergie tells him that she went to Stresa. He gets to Stresa, and then Rinaldi is there, and then like Rinaldi repents and helps him escape across the lake, right? Like that. That's where. So he does the whole lake crossing alone, and like he doesn't even. She goes through this whole thing, and she like starts having the baby alone in Switzerland.
What?
And he just like shows up when she's in the operating room.
Oh, that's weird.
Right. And I also wrote, how did he know she was there? ? Like,
oh, right.
Because he just like walks in. Like, how did you know to go straight to the hospital when you just came to this random town like that we haven't seen before ever? Like,
very convenient. Yeah.
right?
Oh my
Why all
God.
this is happening, right? The war is now over, apparently? Question mark? What? I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
convenient.
Oh, convenient, right? But then because this is this weird movie, like the movie just they like the whole death scene, they're like she's conscious the whole time and then she like dies in his arms and there's this big like triumphant like weird thing, right? My final note is need to have read the book. This is only 3 years after it was written.
Oh.
And like this movie is just the love story part, I guess. Right? Like, I don't really know what this movie is. This movie's a mess. Okay. It is not good. It's real bad. And I thought maybe I was the only one that thought that. And then I found a review online from the New York Times when this movie came out. Right.
You got one from the nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this says I'm just going to read most of this here, not all of it, but bravely as it is produced for the most part, there is too much sentiment and not enough strength in the pictorial conception of Ernest Hemingway's novel. Notwithstanding the undeniable artistry of the photography, the fine recording and voices, etc., one misses the author's vivid descriptions and the telling dialogue. Right, this is Mr. Borges rather than Mr. Hemingway who prevails in this film. And skipping down here a bit, like it's basically like this is not the book. This is something else completely. Right, like it's just a completely different. This is the director's baby. This is only tangentially related to what was written here. Right, possibly if anyone has not read Mr. Hemingway's book, the picture will appeal as a rather interesting, if tragic, romance. In some scenes, however, the producers appear to take it for granted the spectators have read the book. And that really sums up my whole experience with this movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what? Who is this for? What is going on? Some of this doesn't make any sense. Other times they just infer that you know what's going on because they assume you've read the book, I guess, probably because it came out only 3 years before this. So like, yeah, everybody read it. They'll know what's happening. No. No. What in the world?
But all the more weird then to make the choice, or odd to have it be so incongruous with the book itself. And to think that, okay, if we're going to assume that people have read this, but we're going to produce something that is nothing like it at all, and they'll just fill in the gaps. But it's like, what gaps are they filling? Because it doesn't match. Like, I don't just, it's a weird, that's odd. Yeah.
Yeah. It's real weird. So that was that I did. That movie is not it. Right. I cannot deal with that. It was weird. The whole montage escape thing was just creepy and weird and all kinds of weird stuff going on. I did not like that movie. It was not good. Right. So then I watched the second version of this movie, produced in 1957. Right. 1957. This movie is a scant 2 hours and 26 minutes long.
Well, they beefed it up a bit.
Oh boy, did they ever, but not for the better. I can tell you that right now.
No.
Not for the better. This movie, right? Again, both of these movies also have the tagline, tragic love story. I wrote tragic love story. No. Yeah. But this movie like a lot more. Like the first one was very egregiously just a love story, right? This one also, they just focus on the love story part and they miss the whole theme of the book, right? The whole theme of the book that war is bad is not here, right? Because in this movie, it appears that Frederick genuinely loves Kat. That's all there is. right? There's no, like, they pay some lip service because they say some of the dialogue from the book, right? But it's not acted in a way that conveys the real message, right? It's not acted in a way that says we're conflicted, we're escaping from the horrors of war, right? My escapism is this relationship, right? I even looked it up online. I was like, maybe we read too much into this, right? Maybe we're on the wrong track. Nope. All the things that we said about this book, when I look for themes of Farewell to Arms, bam, right there.
Nice.
On the list. So we nailed it, by the way. We got it.
I'm so happy. That makes
right. They were talking about like, yeah, good job, you, right? They talk about like how horrible war is, right? They talk about the reality of war, and all of this is the problem, and then this relationship between love and love is painful, and they're distracting, and all this stuff, and it's all tragedy, and then like how tradition is breaking down and failing everyone around them, and the world is bleak, and blah blah. All these things we talked about. The things that I read about like the themes of Farewell to Arms, that's what they say, right? This movie does not have any of those in it, right?
Oh no.
It pays like lip service to them, again, because it says the dialogue and stuff, but like it doesn't, like, you don't get the feeling of that, you know? And it's so long that it's just boring. Because this is not a movie where a lot of stuff happens, right? The book, not a lot of things are happening. You know, a lot of the book is sitting around talking, expressing feelings through dialogue. That's the Hemingway style. So trying to put that into a 2.5 hour movie is that's not going to translate very well.
No.
Right. So we can talk a bit more about that anyway. But this version stars Rock Hudson. Oh man. There you go.
Got it.
Rock Hudson as your boy. And then I believe this is Jennifer Jones is Cat, right? So this movie, I have less written down because somewhere in the middle it just says also kind of boring ... That's in my notes. I wrote this. So we start off, right? We get the Italian. This is a very 50s movie, right? Like sweeping vistas of the Italian Alps. We have a lot of scenery shots.
I love it.
In this whole movie, right? And I said at the beginning, it's like, ooh, a narrator. Just kidding. Like, the first minute is narrated, and then we never have a narrator again for the whole movie.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really needed to have Frederick's voice narrating a lot of this. Like that would have been an interesting choice.
Yeah, I feel like that would have, because I was like, ooh, narration. Oh.
No.
Just kidding. It was just an exposition thing. Right?
I see.
That's it. So we don't meet Kat for about 12 minutes into the movie, right? That they go, Rinaldi's much nicer in this movie, right? I also, again, more big establishing scenery shots. I was like, ooh, lots of Alps. The Giro would love this movie. So it was just like a advertisement for the Giro d'Italia, right? Just like, oh, look here, Italian Alps and cycling. Bang, here we go. The big important part of this movie, the shelling attack in the Alps, is like an action sequence, right? Also, there's no cheese anywhere. So he gets injured, like he goes up to the top of the mountain to the like lookout post, and then the Austrians start shelling, and he's like, we better get to the ambulances, they're gonna need us. And he like zip lines down this gondola thing, right? And they're like running to the ambulances to like open them up and get ready to take all the people down the mountain, and the ambulance gets shelled and he gets blown up. So like it's a very different vibe of I'm just hanging out eating cheese and just accidentally got blown up, right?
Right.
So it's a whole different thing.
He was trying to be the hero in that versus
he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like he doesn't have this connection of like what's the point? This is hopeless. I was injured for no reason. Like he doesn't. Like they say the lines from the book, but I don't believe them. Like there's no reason for me to believe what you say because I haven't seen anything that indicates that that's true. I don't have that.
Agreed. Yeah.
Then when we go to Milan, right? There's like a bunch of awkward comedy, like the part where they're trying to get him into the elevator, and he's like not fitting and stuff. They sort of draw that whole thing out to where like they keep dropping him and he gets his foot stuck in the elevator and he falls out of bed, right? It's like weirdly misplaced slapstick. Like what tone are you going for right now? Like I don't understand. Because it's all like wacky and silly, but he's mad because he's hurt, right? And he's like laying on the floor. That's weird. So that happens. And then she just like straight up tells him that she's pregnant, like bang, like at the racetrack. Like they're at the racetrack. The racetrack thing is in there, but she's like, I'm pregnant, darling. He's like, oh, that's wonderful. What? I'm like, okay. Okay. And then at the racetrack, there's like an announcement that the Italians were successful in an offensive and it's all like celebratory and whatever. And they just decide that they're going to marry themselves right there. Boom. We're married now, darling. Isn't that wonderful, darling?
Oh.
Like right there at the racetrack.
Condenses that a lot.
Yeah, it's weird. Then then like a whole bunch of stuff is the same and it's boring and drawn out. Another big difference though that we have was like in the part where Van Kampen comes and catches the bottles and like shoos him out. She actually catches them together.
Oh,
she's coming to confront him about the bottles, and Kat is in the room. Got her. So that's a way different thing, right? So it's this whole big thing. She's like, you have to go right now, blah blah blah. And so like that's the whole thing. We go back. There's the stuff. He gets back to the front. He's all like morose and stuff. And then all of a sudden, like we're at the retreat part. And I was like, this is 1 hour in. What is this pacing?
Yeah.
That's all the first hour of the movie. It's like, what is happening? There's an hour and a half left. How?
What is going to happen after that? I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, what do you cover in an hour after the retreat? Like that's
that's like a big thing. Right. But the retreat, it's great. This is where I had like, this is boring. But like, then we have like more crazy drama because like the retreat's happening. They go, we can't, you have to carry the medical supplies. Like, what are going to happen to these people? They have to stay here. So the priest stays with the hospital patients in the villa or whatever, right? And they're like this big prolonged mass praying thing. And then the hospital gets shelled. So we are to assume that the priest has now died. This is what's happened here. Right? This is this movie's attempt to bring in the war element, but it doesn't do it very successfully. Right? We also have this thing where Rinaldi is with them on the retreat. Right? So like during the retreat, it's Frederick and Rinaldi instead of the ambulance drivers, right? And Rinaldi is the person that gets arrested because he's yelling about how pointless it is in the retreat, and Rinaldi is the person that gets shot and executed by the battle
Italian
police.
the retreating
Yeah.
Italians. Yeah.
Yes. And that is the trigger for Frederick to escape, to like dash out. He like smacks the lamps out of their hand and like runs out and dashes out the window.
Okay.
So Rinaldi is the one that gets shot. He's the catalyst for this. Right. Even though we met some of the other people earlier. But in a positive turn of events, Imo goes off with some women in an ambulance and presumably lives and is happily ever after. So
good for Imo.
There's that, right? There's good for him.
Well, I like this version already.
Yeah. I wrote, at least Imo gets the girls.
Good job,
right? You know, it's fine. Kat is by herself. Again, this is a function of like, we don't have any other characters in the movie, so we have to streamline some things. So Kat is alone in Stresa. He goes back to Milan. Fergie tells him where she is. He goes up there. And then we have a very different, like, weird thing. Like, this whole movie is weird because, like, Kat is the one that decides they're going to escape to Switzerland. She's the one who's like, she's a lot like a bolder in this movie and much more like independent and like not useless.
Yeah.
I'm saying, but like, you know, she's much more like bold and like outgoing. But then it's weird because like the parts they added are like that, but then you also have just like normal Hemingway dialogue. So there's like, what is this character? Like there's this weird like flippy floppy wishy-washiness that's happening because like sometimes she's like really like bold and brave and blah blah blah. Like actually, and other times it's like Hemingway's Cat who's just like kind of there and like not really knowing what's going on. It's jarring, right? Like it's it's not put together well. Right? I wrote Kat is much more capable, but weird because she is also book Cat at the same time, right? Like it doesn't really
cohesion might be
the cohesion is not there. It's weird. And like again, this happens and then there's just a lot of boring them living in the thing. The winter sport thing is there technically, but it's less funny. Like they get the part when they get to Switzerland really drags. It's just them all the time doing stuff, and it's not interesting. I actually had to like watch this. I watched this movie in several chunks. Like the second hour and a half of this movie, I had to watch in like 20-minute intervals because it was not like drawing me in, you know. It was just like, oh my gosh, I get to this part and be like, okay, I have to go do something. I have to go cook dinner. I have to go whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, I just watch it in chunks. Like the first hour I watched pretty much all the way through. And then after that, I was like, I can't with this. It's too much. Right. And then the end is basically what you expect, right? Except for there's some weird differences. Like when he goes out and has dinner, like he's with the doctor. And then like that whole big thing at the end about like she can't die, can't blah blah. That's a monologue like to the doctor. which is odd, right? And then the doctor gets called away and he's like there and he's like, I must go. Because again, this version is a love story. And Frederick is not cynical in this movie. Like the cynicism is not there. The fear and threat of war really isn't there. So it's really just him in love with this girl, right? Kinda, sorta. And so like he's just like, I'm gonna go, blah blah. And like then he goes back to the hospital and it's kind of the same as the other one where they like are talking and they're having the moment and then she just like dies, right? But like that he leaves the hospital and is thinking about her and there's like a flashback thing. But there's also no rain. What? That's the whole
thing.
It's the whole point.
Walk out.
Right?
Did you learn nothing? Meaning,
yeah. They even make a point in the movie, like they bring up the rain several times, right? And about how like the whole thing is in there. And then at the end, it's not rainy.
Well, that's wasted.
Why? Right? Like it it's just not there, right? There's just it's just missing, right? In another contemporary review from the New York Times, this excerpt says that also I agree with, right? Throughout, the ominous note of doom is missing. So that the sudden terminal tragedy, when it occurs, seems more a sheer mistake than an inevitable irony in these people's lives.
Yeah.
The show of devotion between two people is intensely acted, but not realized. It is questionable indeed whether Mr. Hudson and Miss Jones have the right personalities for these roles.
Sorry, Hudson and Jones. But
got him. Like, it's just not. And people really like this movie, I guess. Like, there's this one had comments under the video, and there a lot of the people. This was a time when like these people hadn't read the book.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and one of them, I wrote their comment, quote, Hemingway wanted to make a happy story out of something terrible.
Oh.
I wrote, no.
Did he? Is that what Hemingway wanted?
Did it?
Is that what we believe? Yeah.
This movie is so bad at capturing the theme of the book.
Yeah.
That these viewers like just take the love story away.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and honestly, that's the only thing that's being presented in either of these movies. What I'm listening to you is, and it's an easy hook of the love story because, if we're being very honest, there is no lesson, there's no closure. It's just loss and it's meaningless. That's not something people like watching or reading.
That's the point.
That's the point. And that's why this book is so hard to make into a movie, because the whole point is to make you uncomfortable with the meaninglessness of it all and the cynicism at its core through everything. And to loop this in and go, oh, but it's supposed to be this tragedy and this lost romance and all this stuff. It's like that is actually meant to make this all the more bitter and painful when it actually does happen, because it's everything and there's nothing you can do about it. It just, I don't know. Maybe somebody had a monologue about this. It just marches on and they chew you up and they, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the whole point of this.
Yeah. The whole point is the fact that the Italians spent 5 years on top of a mountain fighting and dying for a mountain, and nothing changed.
Yeah.
Right? That's the point.
Yeah.
So much sacrifice made over a bit of land, a scrap of dirt, a speck of ground, right? And overall, nothing changed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That is the thing. The theme of this book is we're doing it wrong. Something is wrong.
Yeah, because there's no hope. There's no future. There's no togetherness. There's no coming to finally conquer one thing, this big bad. It's just you're alone and you're carrying the weight of everything by yourself. Because, like you said, you're doing it's pointless, but we're all here doing it anyway for no point and wasting lives and time and everybody's future.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's just not there,
Yeah.
So that's what I just, it was like, man, this is such a bad adaptation that you left the theme out, right? I know you're not a fan of the Hobbit movies, right? But they have the theme is there.
They
the
do.
correct theme and messaging
theme.
is still there.
They do get that part right.
Right?
Yeah.
Whatever else they add or subtract, the theme and message of the book is there.
Which
right? You can argue
the one
you can
thing
argue
you're
like
supposed to
Harry
get.
Potter, like, oh, the book is better, or this movie is better, but the theme
Yes.
is there.
Yes.
It's the most important thing, and you left it out.
Yeah. Yeah. You should have a sense of bleakness, of utter unravel and destruction. Like and not in like a how do I put this? Not like
I need the French Art Nouveau version of this, right? Like
yes.
Like the 60s black and white French version of this movie, it was gonna nail this vibe, right?
Yes.
That's what
yeah. Because black and white, literally
austere,
like washed
bleak,
out,
hopelessness,
very minimalistic in here. But like, yeah, that's what
dark shadow.
That's what you want throughout this entire, because it's not just that there's like a big baddie impending doom, right? It's not like the asteroid's going to hit us in 7 days and we've got to save ourselves. That's not what this book has in it. This book just has in the overarching, again, the theme here of that. It's not just that something terrible is about to happen. It is everything
is actively happening.
And it's all wrong. And everything is just off a little bit. Like everything's just a little bit discordant, and everything just because it's all wrong. And that's man. So are you going to lead the 2025 production of the
yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if this should be a movie.
Yeah.
Right? If it is a movie, this movie needs to be like a tight 90 minutes. Right? We can time skip. That's fine. We can put in some cards that say 3 months later. That's allowed, right?
Or I don't know, you do what Hemingway does a lot of, and you paint a picture of the weather happening outside.
Yeah.
Like,
and then it like fades into a new day, right? Just like it's raining some more. Like, oh, it's sunny. It must be a different day, right? Like,
yeah.
So yeah, I if this was remade, this needs to be a lot shorter than 2.5 hours. Man, it drags so bad. Again, part of it is that 50s movie thing where like there's just a lot of big establishing shots and like scenes that go on just too long and like they like linger on the landscape a lot. You're like, I get it, but like stop it. You need to do that less because it's not good. So there you go. This is my review of the 2 Farewell to Arms movies.
Okay.
Right. Not favorable. That's
yeah. Not even a little bit. It sounds like, well, at least you did that. So, and now.
True.
And I think it's another reminder of just like you said, some things don't need to be movies. I think they're best left in their original content, how they were created. And I mean, I think the message is more impactful than ever if you think of the post 9/11 generation and the kind of endless wars that we've been in as a society ever since then, like even more so. And this all the more disillusionment and estrangement with service and meaning in those things, and the kind of waste that a lot of people see in that. Like, it would have a massive impact because a lot of people, I believe, feel that way. But to do it in a way that actually hits the notes, as opposed
you have
to
have the right medium, right?
Yeah. So,
or like like you have, if this was to be made to movie, you need like Stanley Kubrick to direct this sucker, right? Like that it might be too long with Kubrick. It'd be a 3.5 hour movie, but like
I was thinking you'd want like Christopher Nolan in here to do the big,
maybe right, like moody, broody, dark. Again, Nolan's movies get a little long though, so we need to tighten it up a little bit. Like,
good point. Good point.
He does a good job with like theming and stuff, but like, where I can't have a 3-hour Farewell to Arms movie, right? Like, that's not.
Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that. That's too rough. So, oh, there we go. So, in closing,
read the book, people. That's what
read the book. That's pretty good. Stay tuned for hopefully more upbeat summer reading in the future.
Yeah.
But I leave you with a haiku for the right. Aha. Page and screen diverge. Unexpected twists and turns. Themes left on the floor.
That's good. Okay. Well, you do that. You make it all sound really good and professional. I like it. That's okay. Good. Round of applause.
I feel very strongly about this. As you can tell,
yeah, I think that definitely. I feel it.
There we go. I'm a bit lost now. I have no homework for myself for next week, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. Maybe a short episode. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you'll find something.
Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see, or maybe we'll have an offline discussion here about something to do moving forward too. I love it. Okay.
Right.
Well, we'll see what happens next week.
All right. No one knows what'll happen. It's on the tagline. Boom.
No one knows.
There you go.
Exactly. No one knows. Love you.
Me too.
Bye.
Bye.